Let's add some accentuating detail lights to our image so that we bring out areas that we might otherwise miss or not quite clearly see quite so much. So I'm thinking about the cars in the background here, and even the fence panels here, and the RDP sign here, because we want to make sure that has an impact. And there's a really simple trick. All you do is add a little point light to it and move it into the position that you need. Maybe give it a little color for effects, and that's pretty much all there is to it. If ever I don't think I've mentioned this before, but if you ever wanted to see a larger version of any of the viewports that you have, you can just go and hover over this and then go Control Space, and then you'll see a larger version of that without having to maximize and minimize any tabs. So Control Space goes back and forth, toggles between these two. Depends on where you hover. So, hover over that, then it makes this one into a full screen thing. Just thought I'd mention it because I might do this every once in a while here. So first of all, let's move our cursor into the position that we want that detail to happen in. So I'm going to go and use this back area here, and I'll go and switch over to the cursor here and maybe put mine here. Shift A, and then I'll go and bring in a point light. GZ to make that slightly float above the ground. And I'm going to go and call this one behind cars left. And let's go and zoom in. Here it is, hovers right there, and let's see what our composition looks like. If I go and switch it off and on, you can just about make it out, so not much to see. So let's crank it up to maybe like 200, and there we go. That's way too bright, isn't it? GZ, move that up a little bit, and then also go and move it. I just want it to be behind the cars here, so that there's something interesting happening at the back here. Maybe 50, maybe 100 is probably enough. But now, of course, notice that we have this harsh shadow happening here. We don't want to do that. So we can, if we're okay with shadows, you can switch off cast shadows and you see what the effect is. Doesn't look very natural, so cast shadows is a good idea here, even though it makes rendering a little bit more expensive. Let's try to make the radius a little bigger. So maybe 1 meter, maybe 0.5. And then we'll see some of the shadows of the cars here, and that's quite nice. I think I might move it further back behind along the wall here, or maybe even behind the police car instead. Let's do that. And now it's a bit too bright, so 50 is good, and let's add something like a color to it. So let's make it maybe a little blue, or you can match the blue of the sirens, or you can make it red. I mean, it is sort of horror, and that's what that looks like now. So again, it hasn't done a great deal, but it certainly added a little accentuation in the back there. Let's see if we can do the same thing here. So we'll go and duplicate that, Shift D, Enter G, Shift Z, and just move that sort of further over here. And that can be the same color or it can be a different color. See what the subtle difference is? I can now read that there's a separation between the wall and the car, with and without. It's subtle, I give you that, but it's one of those things that makes or breaks a really good image. You can either read this well or you can't, and this is a subtle difference that I wanted to bring home. You can go and make that a different color now, of course, if you want to. You can leave it white, of course, as well. Anything you like, so just have fun with that. And we'll go and continue over on this area here, because I think these cars would benefit from that as well. Probably another one here. Let's go and duplicate this. Shift D, G, Shift Z, and just move that over here. Video games do this all the time, and point lights are really magic for that. So red is sort of, red, I think it sort of works fine. I'm thinking that's great. And we're going to do something similar perhaps with a white light behind the RDP sign here. And this does take work, but it really is something that's going to make your images better. So for this, I'm thinking let's try something white. For white, the easiest way to make an existing light white is just turn the saturation down. That'll make it white. I think we're going to make this brighter here. See, this is now the area that I'm looking at here. Yeah, I'd like for the light to catch the three-dimensionality of these letters here. See that? This is flat, and this is with the light. So granted, this isn't the right strength just yet, but you get the picture. This is really going to add something to that. I don't know if we wanted to have that a different color. Do we want that a little blue, perhaps? I don't know if we do. I think maybe that just white is probably all we need. I think I might have one for every letter here. So Shift D behind RDP sign, I'll call it. Shift D, Enter G, Shift Z, move that one over here. So now we have the same effect on the R and the P, and now we're going to have another one for the D perhaps. Shift D, G, Shift Z, and have that here. So that might be nice. I think this is a bit too strong, so we're going to make that one a little less strong. But then, whoops, but then we can see that's the effect now. It might still be a little strong, so maybe that can be 50. I don't want to have the tree all that illuminated here, but now the RDP really comes out. And speaking of that, I think maybe we could do with seeing a little bit more of the tree. So the point light is working for that as well, but you could also have something that they would have in real life, which is something like a spotlight that points up into this tree, and then that large black area, you'll actually see some definition there, which currently you don't, and that's important to do that. So we can try to just copy the point light here. So Shift D, G, and then this is X. This is what that does here. So that's the point light. But of course, the point light, that might have this strong hotspot here. So a spotlight might be nicer, or you just vary the point lights up. So this one's going to be the tree light. And maybe just by duplicating that, we might already be okay. Yeah, there, make that 100 watts. And then at least you see it's a tree, you know. If you don't have that, it's like the best assets can be ruined by bad lighting, you know what I mean? If you have trouble positioning these things, don't be afraid to use the manipulator here and just move it into position that way. That is also very possible. So I'm trying to just illuminate this part of the tree here. And there we got it. So 100 is probably fine. You can also make the radius larger here, then the intensity can be stronger again. And then we have something like that. Oh, there we go. That is sweet. So now we can see that there's an actual tree here. Not bad if I say so myself. So one other thing I would probably do here is add another light behind the gate, and I'll show you how we can make one of these windows look as if it's illuminated without having to tweak any of the materials that are currently on the object.